What would happen if all these signs started exploding at once, right now? While a country like Mexico is shaking from violence, columns of fire shoot out from Volcán de Fuego, ripping the sky with lightning. Mud flows from Huayna Putina come roaring down. Strange sounds echo across the sky over Israel. Tall rings of light appear in Oregon. Floodwaters swallow Marawi, and bright red lightning bolts explode over Texas. Are you seeing the same string of warnings? What would you do if time is running out? And there's one really important detail that still hasn't been made clear. So, come along with me. Let's dive in and look at the whole thing. First, though, drop a prayer in the comments below as a way to show your faith, okay? Now, so you don't have to wait, let's jump right in with 1. Mexico falls into chaos of smoke and dust and political conflict. Thick black smoke rises like a curtain of war as a huge country like Mexico slides deeper into a spiral of violence we can't just ignore. Major highways stretching hundreds of miles get blocked in just a few hours. Buses and businesses set on fire in broad daylight, and city life suddenly shatters into total disorder. When key areas like Guadalajara shake from wave after wave of roadblocks and burnings, a lot of folks start thinking of Matthew 24:6-7. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. The heart of this crisis is the rise of crime groups like the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, as power struggles spread across more than 20 states, including Puerto Vallarta, with over 250 roadblocks and burnings reported in a short time. Fox News reports that thousands of tourists got stuck in hotspots, while schools and hospitals had to shut down, and people had to hunker down at home for days because gunfire kept going off non-stop. In the middle of all this, Revelation 6-4 rings out almost too eerily, and another horse, bright red, came out. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth, so that people should slay one another, and he was given a great sword. It's not just isolated fights. The clashes show deeper signs of society breaking down, with main transport routes turned into armed checkpoints, supply chains cut off, and the local economy grinding to a halt. News reports say organized attacks left cities wrapped in smoke and dust for night after night, forcing security forces to rush in on a massive scale. Meanwhile, Matthew 24-12 seems to have described this scene thousands of years ago. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. Still, some say this is just the result of long-running social and economic troubles, but the sheer scale and speed of the violence push it way beyond ordinary conflicts. When highways dozens of miles long get blocked all at once and neighborhoods turn dangerous overnight, people start wondering if this is really just a security crisis or a sign of much wider unrest ahead. And if what's happening now is only the beginning, what might the rest of the world face next? Come along with me, and let's look at some even harder to believe signs. 2. Fire from the volcano top, erupting with fierce lightning. Fire shoots up from deep inside the earth, then lightning strikes right back down into the volcano's mouth at the exact same moment. Around Volcán de Fuego, about 27 miles from Guatemala City, huge columns of ash rise tens of miles high. Then, thousands of powerful lightning bolts branch out, ripping across the night sky like a living web of electricity. Revelation 8-5 says, "The angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. There came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake." This thing they call a dirty thunderstorm happens when ash particles crash into each other in the hot gas plume. That builds up static electricity and sends lightning bolts as far as 19 miles, lighting up the whole area with flashes that go on for hours. This isn't the first time we've seen it. Scientists have recorded similar electrical discharges since the 1800s when ash builds up in the atmosphere. Luke 21:25 talks about, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, Nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Science explains that ash and ice in the eruption column cause it directly. But looking at history, big eruptions like Krakatoa in 1883 and Mount Tambora in 1815 released energy equal to more than 130,000 atomic bombs. They changed the world's climate for years afterward. Revelation 16:18 describes, "Then there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a severe earthquake. No earthquake like it has ever occurred since mankind has been on earth." Some believers feel these fire and lightning scenes aren't just geology. They bring back ancient descriptions of signs in the sky and on the earth when natural forces seem to come together all at once. As the lightning keeps slashing through the thick ash cloud, a lot of folks believe today's eruption patterns are echoing warnings given long ago. And if these fiery columns are just the beginning, how many other mountains are quietly building up energy right now, waiting for the next big explosion? 3. Violent lahar in Peru. Mud and rocks rushing like a monster, roaring in the middle of the night. A huge wall of mud and rocks suddenly came crashing down the mountainside, carrying thick mud and big boulders at a scary speed, crushing everything in its path like a beast hunting its prey. This scene wasn't from a disaster movie. It happened right around Huayna Putina in the Moquegua area, about 50 miles from Arequipa. When the first pictures and videos started spreading online, you can't help but wonder, what is really waking up under that ground that seemed to have been sleeping quietly for centuries? This is a volcano that caused a major eruption back in 1600, and now, after long heavy rains, a mix of mud, ash, and rocks, called a lahar, suddenly rushed down the south slope, pouring through Quebrada el Volcán toward the Tambo River. Small communities like Quinistaquillas along the path had to stay well away from the river when the muddy flow stretched for miles with terrible destructive force. Amos 9:5 says, "The Lord God of hosts is he who touches the earth, and it melts, and all who live on it mourn." Reports from the Instituto Geofísico del Peru show the lahar moved at an unusually high speed, damaging bridges and roads and wiping out many farm areas in a short time. Some video clips show the surface of the flow swirling and rolling like it's alive, carrying huge rocks along as easily as dry branches. Revelation 16:20 says, "Every island fled away, and the mountains were not found." Online, reactions are all over the map. Some folks are panicking, thinking this is a sign of bigger upheavals coming soon. Others feel uneasy, but try to calm themselves with talk of extreme weather, while a group of believers stay remarkably calm, pointing back to those old warnings. Matthew 24:7 records, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." Some skeptics say it's just a natural result of all that heavy rain. Nothing supernatural or mysterious about it. But recent monitoring data shows lahar events in this area are happening more often. As these muddy flows keep snaking through narrow valleys, the question still hangs in the air. If this is only the first signal, could even bigger ones be quietly building somewhere else on the planet? 4. Strange trumpet sound in the sky over Israel. A strange sound that didn't seem from this world suddenly cut through the clear blue sky. It rang like a metallic trumpet echoing down from somewhere invisible, leaving lots of people along the coast near Haifa frozen as they looked up. No plane in sight, no thunder, but the sound kept going in steady beats, like a wordless call spreading from Jerusalem all the way to the seashore. It left everyone who heard it with a hollow, hard-to-explain feeling inside. Videos popped up quickly, all showing the same thing. It sounded just like a giant trumpet being blown from high up in the sky. The noise rolled through the streets, making windows rattle lightly and the air feel unusually heavy. Some folks believe this isn't just a regular sound. It's more like a sign, as if an unseen door just cracked open. Ever wonder why these sounds always seem to show up? when things feel the most unsettled? Revelation 8-6 says, "The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them." While many people on social media got scared and called it a sign you can't ignore, others said it was probably just seismic noise or even something edited on a computer. Arguments started between those looking for a scientific answer and some believers who stayed surprisingly calm, saying this kind of sound was talked about a long time ago. 1 Thessalonians 4:16 says, "For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God." These verses got shared a lot as the key to understanding it, helping some groups see the event as part of a chain of warning signs the Bible described long before. Similar reports have come up before, from the United States to Russia over the years, so this isn't limited to just one place anymore. Revelation 11:15 says, "The 7th angel sounded his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven, which said, 'The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Messiah.'" If this is a sound signaling something big coming soon, then the question left is, when the next trumpet sounds, what will finally wake up? 5. The strange rainbow gate in Oregon, USA. A scene that felt both holy and hard to explain appeared after a light rain in the skies over Oregon. 2 vertical rainbow bands suddenly crossed each other, as if forming an invisible pathway between 2 different realms. Instead of curving the usual way, they stretched straight up like pillars of light, standing side by side, then crossing through the gray clouds. Many people who saw it stood quietly, overwhelmed and filled with a deep sense of reverence. Revelation 4:1 says, "After this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. And the voice I had first heard speaking to me, like a trumpet, said, 'Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this.'" That image made quite a few people think of a door never seen with normal eyes, as if the boundary between the visible and invisible was briefly opening before closing again. Dashcam videos recorded near Bend show 2 rainbow pillars stretching for miles, perfectly straight from the ground up to the low clouds. They appeared for just a few minutes, then vanished like they were never there. Experts say this happens when sunlight reflects off ice crystals floating in the air, but the unusual straight shape left many feeling like they were looking at a powerful sign. Maybe these things only show up when people are ready to notice them. Ezekiel 1:28 records, "Like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the radiance around him." Some folks saw this as a quiet reminder not to scare anyone, but to gently turn our attention toward things beyond ordinary understanding. It felt like that light wasn't just bouncing off the sun, but coming from some other unnamed source too. In Redmond, several witnesses said the 2 light pillars crossed to form something like an arched gateway, standing still in the gray sky, before slowly fading into thin mist. Genesis 9:13 says, "I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." If that gate only appeared for a moment and then disappeared, the question left hanging is this: when it opens again, who will recognize it and who will step closer? 6. Annular solar eclipse, the eye over Antarctica's sky. The sky went dark in the middle of the day, and the sun suddenly turned into a bright red ring of fire hanging over the top of the frozen world. Do you see an eye watching over humanity? On the continent of Antarctica, which covers about 5.4 million square miles, this ring-shaped eclipse created a scene that was both mesmerizing and unsettling, as if nature was sending a silent message. At research stations like Concordia Station and Mirny Station, the moon covered about 96% of the sun, leaving a fiery, bright ring that lasted nearly 2 minutes against the freezing cold sky. The strange light fell on the pure white ice surface, giving the feeling that the whole planet was standing under a serious gaze. Luke 21:25 warns, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." As images of the ring of fire spread, many people on social media expressed fear, calling it an unusual sign in these turbulent times, while believers stayed calmer, saying it's no coincidence that these heavenly signs are coming one after another. They pointed to Revelation 6-12 as a charge against humanity's condition. I watched as the Lamb opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. Joel 2:31 continues to ring out like a powerful accusation. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. For some people, this is just a normal astronomical event when the moon is farther from Earth than usual, but its special position over the South Pole and the image looking like a blazing eye in the sky make many unable to see it as pure coincidence. In the growing unease, believers affirm that if this is a reminder, it also comes with a promise. The one who sees everything is also the one who has the power to protect those who put their trust in him. As the ring of fire slowly closed and daylight returned, the question still hangs in the air. If that eye is truly watching, what will be judged next? 7. Floods engulfing Asia. Water rises inch by inch, then suddenly surges over rooftops, sweeping away cars and belongings like the whole city is being pulled under by an invisible hand. In Marawi City on Mindanao Island, muddy water creeps through every street, rushing for miles, leaving people just enough time to grab each other and head for higher ground. When you see those pictures, doesn't it feel somehow like history is repeating itself? Heavy rains that go on and on, combined with high tides and salt water creeping in, turn whole neighborhoods into temporary seas where the line between land and river disappears in just a few hours. Tin roofs reflect the dull gray sky, while the swirling current seems to drag everything towards some unseen deep place, making it feel both very real and strangely dreamlike, as if the ancient past is rising up right in the middle of today. Genesis 7:17 says, "The flood continued 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and lifted the ark above the earth." That picture makes a lot of folks think of Noah's time, when the water wasn't just a disaster, but also a sign of cleansing and a fresh start, a cycle closing so a new one could begin. It's not just the Philippines. Many places across Asia are seeing more and more flooding, with salt water invading farmland and rivers overflowing their usual banks. Matthew 24:37-39 says, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. For in those days, before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up until the day Noah entered the ark." These words get shared a lot, as a way to say the repeating floods might mean something bigger than just weather or geography. 2 Peter 3-6 reminds us, "By these waters, the world of that time was flooded and destroyed." Even though many experts say it's due to climate change and poor infrastructure. How often and how big these recent floods are makes quite a few people wonder about larger cycles at work beyond what we can see. If the water keeps rising like in that old story, the question left isn't only how to fight the floods, but this: what ark of salvation is waiting for those who seek it? And will we recognize it in time before the current reaches its final point? 8. Angel-shaped aurora over the northern United States. On the cold night skies of Alaska and Minnesota, bands of green and purple light suddenly curved and spread out into the shape of huge wings, quietly wrapping the darkness like an invisible shield. It left us standing still under that glow, feeling peace slip into every breath. In Fairbanks, the display lasted many minutes, turning the whole sky into a living dome where the light didn't just dance, it seemed to stand guard. The aurora bands wove together into 2 matching arches of light, gently curving, then closing like wings opening across the sky. They glowed with green mixed with purple, stretching miles across the deep, dark background. Observation stations recorded this unusual shape during a strong geomagnetic storm, but its slow movement and balanced form gave it a mystical feeling, as if some unseen presence was there. Revelation 7:1 says, "After this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, so that no wind would blow on the land, or on the sea, or on any tree." Many people see these words as a hint that the lights up above might not just be a natural event, but possibly a sign of something beyond ordinary understanding stepping in. Psalm 91:11 says, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." As those wings of light opened and closed overhead, some felt it as a symbol of protection, while others said it's simply the sun's wind meeting Earth's magnetic field. Matthew 24:31 records, "And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of the heavens to the other." These words keep coming up as a reminder that signs in the sky could mean far more than what our eyes alone can see. If those wings are quietly spreading across the dark night, what's left isn't just admiring the beauty of the light, it's wondering how long this covering will stay before the sky shifts shape once more. 9. Red sprite 50 miles wide over Texas. The night sky over Texas suddenly tore open with blood-red streaks, branching out like an upside-down forest fire reaching into the heavens, and we couldn't look away as the whole upper sky turned a deep, ominous red, like some kind of warning sign. That light didn't just flash and vanish. It spread out, layered across the sky, hanging there like a fiery message written in the air. After big thunderstorms, when strong positive lightning hits the ground, red sprites show up, about 19 miles above the storm clouds. But this time, it spread out huge, 50 miles wide, covering a giant chunk of the sky. Photographer Paul M. Smith caught the moment, showing thick, bright red branches like blood-stained tree trunks stretching up in total silence. Revelation 6:12 says, "The sun became black as sackcloth, and the moon turned red like blood." With the clouds below going pitch dark and those red streaks crisscrossing above, a lot of folks couldn't help thinking of the sky in judgment, where the light isn't warm golden anymore, but turns into a color of alert. Science explains red sprites as electrical discharges way up in the ionosphere, a rare but measurable atmospheric thing. Still, this unusual shape, a thick, symmetrical red forest stretching tens of miles, made plenty of people feel like it wasn't just random physics, but something being drawn across the sky as a sign. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." Those red pillars of light shot up and faded in just a few seconds, but long enough to burn the image of blood and fire mixed together into our minds, like the sky was repeating an old warning. Revelation 8-7 goes on. "The first angel sounded his trumpet, and hail and fire mixed with blood were hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up. Even though no fire fell from this sprite, the red covering everything and the fury of the storm below made many feel like we're standing at the edge of something much bigger. Skeptics say it's all just electric charge and plasma, normal atmospheric science doing its thing. But when a 50-mile wide red streak hangs right overhead, looking like a forest of blood in the sky, that uneasy feeling doesn't go away easy with a few technical words. This strange sign left more than a few folks deep in thought, as if the sky was sending a signal we have to figure out ourselves. If this red lightning is the first warning of some kind of cleansing, the question still hanging there is, which sky gets painted red next when the bigger one comes? 10. Strange cloud, like a fishbone in the sky. All of a sudden, the sky showed this odd pattern, like it was drawn with long, endless bones stretching out, branching off symmetrically, so the whole high cloud layer came alive in a way that's hard to explain. Have you ever looked up and felt like some giant shape was quietly spreading out above you? Thin cloud bands split apart, then came back together, stretching for tens of miles, turning the usual view into something with a cold beauty that you just couldn't look away from. Matthew 24:30. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. When those cloud lines branch out like a backbone reaching across the horizon, it feels like something arranged on purpose, way beyond normal weather patterns. Each cloud branch layers like ribs, forming a huge frame silently covering the sky. Joel 2:2. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like dawn, spreading over the mountains. This usually forms way up, tens of thousands of feet, where airwaves create long cirrus vertebratus layers, sections linking like bone segments. In many places around the world, from coastal cities to far-off ocean islands, the same kind of structure has been seen more and more often. A lot of folks say it's just a rare cloud type, but the unusual symmetry and how often it's showing up make that idea feel pretty weak. When the whole sky gets covered by a shape that reminds you of a giant skeleton, the line between a natural thing and some kind of symbolic message starts to blur, especially when these patterns stretch on for miles without a break. Revelation 1:7. Behold, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him. Clouds that used to be just a calm background now become the setting for a strong reminder image. When the cloud branches cross like a huge backbone structure, the sky isn't just empty space anymore. It holds a sign that's hard to ignore. If this is the last time a pattern this symbolic shows up, what comes next might not be so easy to explain with everyday words. As that shape slowly fades into the late afternoon light, the question left isn't where it came from, but what might be waiting behind the next appearance in this wide sky. These 10 phenomena we've watched unfold right in front of us are like 10 pieces of a far bigger picture, one much larger than anything we humans can measure or fully explain. Strange lights in the sky, unusual shifts in nature, shapes that leave people amazed and uneasy. All of it seems to be telling one common story. It's not just about climate, the universe, or science. It's also about the times we're living in, about a wake-up call, and about a greater plan that's been revealed for thousands of years in the Bible. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven." Looking back at all these signs we've reflected on together, it's hard not to see this warning as the thread running through everything. What happens in the heavens and on earth no longer feels disconnected. It seems to be coming together, reminding us that we aren't in a random world, but in a flow that has a beginning and an end. Romans 13:11 says, "The hour has now come for you to wake from sleep, for salvation is nearer to us now than when we first believed." This isn't a message to scare us. It's a call to wake up. In the rush of daily life and all the usual noise, we can easily forget the most important thing, where our soul stands and what our faith is really resting on. If these signs truly are reminders, the response shouldn't be fear or confusion, but repentance, prayer, and turning back to the Lord. 2 Chronicles 7:14 promises, "If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land." That promise is still just as true today. The greatest change doesn't start in the sky. It starts in human hearts when we humble ourselves and seek God. If anything from these 10 phenomena has spoken to you, please leave a prayer or your own thought in the comments below so we can encourage one another in faith. Share this video with your loved ones, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any upcoming messages. Each one could be the timely reminder we, or someone we care about really needs. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. May the Lord grant you and your family His peace, protection, and grace in every circumstance. Amen. What's really going on in the sky in 2026? Why are UFOs showing up so often, right out in the open, in front of millions of people? In Guatemala, a long glowing object sweeps across the sky and a mothership appears. In Alaska, a triangular craft makes the military scramble, then disappears. Out in the desert, an orb shoots straight up. At the Grand Canyon, a glowing object flies close along the cliff. Near Area 51, a secret team recovers something at night. New York catches an orb changing colors. Florida sees a glowing saucer up close. Italy has 3 orbs just hovering still. Off the beach, a huge object hangs right over the water. Are you noticing these signs? If you believe this is a warning, please leave a prayer in the comments as a way to show your faith in God. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait long, we're going to get started right away with 1. Aliens in Guatemala. A strange object shot through the sky near the Gulf of Guatemala, slicing across the clouds, then speeding up like an arrow straight into the darkness. Folks in Villanueva, just outside Guatemala City, caught a steady, long-lasting light on video, no flashing like a regular plane. At the same time, the optics on an Apache helicopter picked up weird interference. The picture shook hard, then lost lock on the target. This same area had reports before about a mothership with 6 white lights lined up straight, hovering for several minutes before vanishing. This time, the new object stayed around 1,000 feet high, flying in a smooth, straight line, no wings, no sound. Radar within 5 miles showed intermittent jamming, then the target just disappeared from the screen like it was never there, leaving us with a mystery that's hard to explain. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. When strange lights appear overhead and people below watch in confusion, that warning feels clearer than ever." This wasn't just a dot in the sky. It reached right into the fears of folks on the ground. A lot of people quickly say it's a drone or some military test gear, but a drone can't glide that smoothly at 1,000 feet without making noise, and it sure wouldn't mess with an Apache's systems from far away. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke." When unknown objects show up more and more, those words don't feel like just symbols anymore. Witnesses from different angles all saw the same motion, the same light, and the same sudden end. No wreckage, no distress signal, just silence after it was gone. If this was just a mix-up, why did it leave such clear electronic traces? And why do we keep seeing more events like this? Guatemala might just be the starting point. An object appears, causes interference, then pulls back, like it's testing how the world reacts before moving on. And if it comes back, not just passing through the sky, but announcing something bigger, what exactly will we have to face next time? 2. Silence from the military in Alaska. A strange object was hovering offshore near Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. It forced fighter jets to scramble, but then everything went into a strange silence. And you're watching an event that even the military won't explain openly. Radar picked up the target about 10 miles from shore, just sitting still in the cold Arctic wind. No identification signal, no response to radio calls. Witnesses described a triangular craft, no wings, no obvious engines, hanging at 40,000 feet for several minutes. Airborne sensors caught intermittent jamming, data flickering, then gone completely as the F-22 got close. No explosion, no detailed official statement, just a short bit of info, and then it was closed, leaving a big dark space we have to think about. Matthew 24-29 says, "Right after those terrible days, the sun will go dark, the moon won't give light anymore, stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken." When an object with no known origin makes modern defense systems react and then go quiet, it's not just a technical glitch. It feels like a warning about the shaking of powers up high. Some folks say it was just a balloon, but a balloon can't hold steady at 40,000 feet against strong Alaska winds. It sure can't jam military sensors and then leave the area without any wreckage like the shootdowns back in 2023. Luke 21:26 says, "People will be terrified, waiting for what's coming on the earth." That fear doesn't need an official announcement. It shows up in the caution and the information gap after the event. This area has a history of quiet objects spotted in the empty skies. But this time, it's different because of the military response and the lack of openness afterward. A craft shows up, challenges the surveillance system, then leaves without anyone clearly saying what happened. When the strongest power on Earth faces something it can't control, the warning isn't just about technology, it's about human confidence too. If Alaska was just a test, what happens when the next sightings don't stay hovering offshore, but come closer to populated areas? And if the powers of the heavens are really being shaken like the Bible warns, how many more silences like this will we see before the full truth comes out? 3. Rapid ascent in desert. Zooming straight up in the desert. A huge round metal object suddenly drops down onto the empty land, then shoots straight up into the sky in just a few seconds, leaving the sand completely untouched, like no thrust ever hit it. The whole thing was caught near a remote base area about 2 miles away, and the 4K drone footage shows a perfectly straight, sharp, no-wobble path upward. Before it took off, that round shape was just hovering low and steady, no wings, no smoke, no engine roar. The telemetry data shared shows it hit around 500 feet per second, smooth, as if it was programmed that way. You watch it and realize there's no shaking, no swirling dust cloud like you'd get from a regular jet engine. This stretch of desert has had lots of reports before about small glowing orbs zipping across the Arizona sky, changing direction fast, then vanishing from sight. This time, instead of flying sideways, the metal thing chose to land, pause, then blast straight up, like it was testing the limit between ground and sky. No aviation warnings, no public military statement, just the video and data that force you to face something you've never seen before. Joel 2:33-1 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness, the moon to blood." Movements that break normal rules don't always need fire or smoke to be a sign. Sometimes, the total silence during that fast climb is what makes the Bible verse feel so real and close. Some folks say it's just a big drone or test equipment, but the estimated size and that 500 feet per second acceleration are way beyond common civilian stuff. Plus, it landed and balanced perfectly without any trouble. Those peanut-shaped crafts mentioned in other reports usually move sideways. They don't do this exact, clean vertical rise and drop. When aerodynamics get challenged like this, we have to rethink what we believe is possible. If this was a show of power, who's it meant for, and what's the point? Something lands, waits, then rockets straight up without a trace, like it's proving the line between sky and ground can be crossed anytime. And if these wonders in the heavens are just starting to show up more clearly, where will the next fast climb happen? And how much longer will we just stand and watch before we really understand what it means? 4. Grand UFO in Arizona. Lights up right in the canyon. A bright, white shape shot across the Grand Canyon cliffs. Quiet, but impossible to ignore. A tourist's camera shook as it glided past the red rock layers, about 500 feet up. You have to wonder, why would something show up in this ancient place that doesn't match any known flight? The Grand Canyon has long been called a hotspot for strange sightings. Plenty of videos on YouTube and Reddit show glowing dots moving straight along the cliffs. No wobble, no turns. This time, the white glowing object flew parallel to the rim, sharp and clear in 4K footage, not blurry like sunlight reflecting off anything. Revelation 6:12 says, "And I beheld, when the Lamb opened the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood." When the sky and earth move together in the same scene, the Bible isn't talking about random stuff. It's describing signs that break the normal order. That object didn't blink like a regular drone, made no engine noise, left no smoke trail. It held a steady height, flew straight for several seconds, then sped up and vanished behind a rocky point. Some skeptics say it was just a light effect, but light doesn't hold a fixed path on its own in desert wind. Joel 2:33-1 reads, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire, and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood." When strange signs appear together from desert to canyon, the Bible doesn't stay on the sidelines. It steps in like the explanation, saying that power from above can shake even the strongest symbols of earth. The Hopi legends talk about doors between worlds hidden in the rocks. But this wasn't just an old story passed down. This is recorded video, controlled movement, perfect path. If it's not human technology, then who's behind it? The Bible often speaks of stars falling and powers in the heavens being shaken. When a glowing object drifts through the Grand Canyon like a signal being sent, faith stops being a vague option and becomes the answer. Could the canyon be hiding something much bigger, and we're only seeing the beginning of what's about to break wide open? 5. Desert Tracker in Nevada. Right in the middle of the desert night, a bright white light pops up behind an SUV speeding down a Nevada highway, just 19 miles from Area 51. It doesn't flash, it doesn't drift, it doesn't fall back. It matches the car's speed perfectly, like a glowing shadow. This whole area sits right next to restricted airspace, where those plain white Janet flights take off and land every day. But this thing doesn't look like any regular aircraft. No familiar shape, no red and green flashing lights, no jet engine roar. According to reports spreading on Facebook and Daily Mail, plenty of drivers have caught these steady lights, keeping perfect distance, flying parallel for several minutes. Acts 2:19 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and thick smoke." When a light shows up in the sky, right beside America's most secret spot, the Bible doesn't call it random chance. It calls it a sign. The dashcam shows the object holding steady height above the desert floor, not wobbling even in strong night wind. The car speeds up to 80 miles per hour. The light speeds up too, still sitting a few hundred feet back and just off to the right. Then the driver eases off the gas, and the light slows right along with it, almost like it's watching. If you were behind the wheel, wouldn't you feel like something was tracking you? Some folks say it's a military drone, but civilian drones aren't allowed that close to restricted zones, and no drone keeps that smooth a path without any shake at high speed. Compared to the Janet flights that follow clear routes, this thing doesn't show up on any public radar. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and plagues in many places, and terrifying things, and great signs from heaven." Signs from heaven aren't just quick flashes. They're repeating signals, showing up near centers of power, as a reminder that no secret escapes the eyes of the Most High. Finally, the bright spot suddenly shoots forward, climbs fast, and vanishes into the dark in just a few seconds. No sonic boom, no smoke trail, no official explanation. It appears, follows, then leaves. If this isn't human technology, then who's watching? What's Area 51 really hiding? And why do these lights pick out lone cars in the middle of the desert? Could it be that before the final times begin, humanity is being watched more closely than ever? 6. Hidden retrieval near Area 51. A disc-shaped object lands in the Nevada desert. Then a team in black suits moves in fast and hauls it away in just a few minutes. The clip cuts off suddenly, right when the truck door slams shut. If you watch all the way to the last second, do you really believe this is just a hoax? The area, not far from Area 51, has long been tied to rumors about secret recovery operations. YouTube and the NY Post have mentioned reports of fallen objects, military lockdowns, and roads blocked off at night. This time, the footage shows a round structure sitting still on the sand, smooth surface, no markings, no smoke, no fire. Isaiah 13:10 says, "For the stars of heaven and their constellations will not give their light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will not give its light." When the lights in the sky go dark and whatever falls to earth gets hidden right away, those Bible words sound like a serious warning. Something is happening that's beyond human control. The video shows 4 people in dark clothing stepping out of 2 SUVs with no license plates. They don't run. They don't panic. They work like it's routine. Approach, check it out, lift the round object with some equipment, and load it into the truck. No fumbling, no arguing. Everything goes smooth, like they've practiced it many times. Compared to Roswell in 1947, where debris was first called a weather balloon, then later a dummy test story, this time there's no official explanation released. People bring up Bob Lazar's claims about secret research programs again, but the government stays quiet. Revelation 12:1 says, "A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars." The Bible talks about signs in the sky before big changes come. When those signs hit the ground and get rushed away, is humanity trying to cover up what was foretold? Some folks say this is just a clickbait stunt, but the smooth teamwork, the specialized gear, and the way they sealed off the area point to a professional operation. It doesn't look like some amateurs staging a scene in the desert. It feels like a familiar process that's been done before. If these recoveries are real, where are they taking the objects? What underground lab is studying them? And if these are signs of the end times, are we ready to face the truth when all the secrets finally come out? 7. Orb in New York. Gone in a flash. A glowing orb shot right across the live shot over the Hudson River, then changed color right in midair, white to green, in less than a second. No sound, no trace left behind. Is this just video interference? Or is something moving in close to the most crowded city in America? Fox 5 NY and the NY Post have reported sightings before, glowing objects flying near helicopters, gliding along the Manhattan skyline, then making sharp turns like they're being controlled. This time, the camera pointing out over the Hudson caught it perfectly. A small glowing orb appears on the left side of the screen, speeds across at 200-300 feet high, curves gently, and disappears behind the buildings. Did you catch that turn? Or am I the only one who sees a path that looks intentional? Luke 21:25-26 says, "And there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves. People will faint from terror, waiting for what is coming on the world. When a sign shows up right over the water in this city, it's like a warning ringing out in the middle of all the noise." A lot of experts are quick to call it a drone or some light reflection, but commercial drones can't suddenly speed up and change their glow color like that without making noise. A light reflection can't lift off the water, rush right up to the camera, then bend its path just a few dozen feet away. Viewers flooded the station with calls, but the explanations are still just guesses. Matthew 16:3 says, "In the morning you say, Today it will storm because the sky is red and overcast. You can read the sky, but you can't read the signs of the times. People can read the weather forecast, but they miss the signals passing right in front of them. When the color changes in midair, it might be a reminder to wake up. The Hudson has seen strange lights for decades, but rarely this clear and this close. The orb came right toward the camera, almost like it wanted to leave a mark before slipping away. No crash, no fall, no chase. Just one appearance, enough to shake things up. If this is one of those signs in the heavens, right in the middle of the world's financial center, who's the message for? Will this city see it again? Or is this just the beginning of bigger things coming closer to the Hudson shore? 8. Shocking moment in Florida. Right up in the clouds! A glowing green disk suddenly showed up right next to a regular passenger plane over Tampa, then just hovered there for a few heart-stopping seconds. It happened close to MacDill Air Force Base, and folks pretty much held their breath when the video started spreading all over social media. From clips going around on Instagram and YLLD941, you can clearly see this flat, round shape right outside the window at cruising altitude, around 30 to 35,000 feet. It stayed steady right beside the plane, giving off a smooth green light that didn't flash like regular aircraft lights. Then, in a split second, it shot off and vanished so fast your eyes could barely keep up. Inside the cabin, there was no crash, no shaking, just a long, quiet moment after the scared whispers started. Some passengers said they still remember their heart pounding hard when they looked out the window, like the sky had just shown something way beyond normal. The shape wasn't blurry or distorted. It looked sharp and solid for those few short seconds. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." When a glowing sign appears in the busy skies over Florida, that old warning echoes like it's coming from long ago, not to scare people, but to wake up folks who've been asleep to it. A lot of people quickly say it's just an optical illusion or some marketing stunt. But those fake campaigns usually get caught with obvious setup signs, while here, you've got independent witnesses, different camera angles, and real reactions inside the plane. No heads up, no fancy editing, just one moment that made everyone look up at the sky. Acts 2:19 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and thick smoke." When that green light zipped by at tens of thousands of feet, it felt like a reminder that strange things aren't just from the past. Maybe it's a nudge that the time of decision is closer than we think. Even if someone tries to explain it as test tech or some weather effect, the sudden speed up and the way it held position next to a commercial jet still raises big questions. No warning from the cockpit, no fighter jets chasing it, just there, then gone, like a message delivered. Those passengers that day probably still think about it every time they look up at the Florida sky. If it was a sign up there in the air, what's it calling for in each of our hearts? And how many more moments like that might Tampa's sky open up, testing our faith and waking it up at the same time? 9. Orbs over the Italian mountain in Montreal, Palermo. 3 identical bright lights suddenly hung silently over the Montreal mountain in Palermo, just hovering there like they were waiting for a signal. The video spread fast on TikTok and YouTube, and you can feel the unease creeping into every comment below. No one heard any engine noise. No one saw any exhaust trail. Just 3 perfectly matched glowing orbs keeping even spacing across the old Italian sky. Montreal isn't some remote place. It's known for its deep religious history and centuries-old churches. But this time, the sky right above the mountain stole the show. Those 3 lights didn't blink like airplanes or drift like hot air balloons. They stayed locked in place for several minutes, as if gathering in midair before suddenly speeding off together and vanishing in the blink of an eye. No swaying from the wind, no shape change when you zoom in. The people who filmed it swear the orbs were completely still, then all left at once, with speed way beyond any regular drone. Compared to those triangle light reports near train tracks in Italy before, This one looks cleaner and more deliberate, like a planned formation. Revelation 6:12, 1-3 says, "And I beheld, when he had opened the sixth seal, and, lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind." When those three lights shot away from Montreal together, the picture of stars falling from heaven stopped being some far-off symbol and felt very real to the people watching. A lot of folks try to explain it away as just drones flying in formation, but drones need a controller signal, they need position lights, and they rarely hover perfectly still, then blast off suddenly without any sound. No matching commercial flight reports, no public military test announcements. That silence makes the whole thing harder to ignore. Revelation 6 doesn't just talk about disasters, it also points to signs in the sky as clues for where we are in history. When lights show up in groups, come together, then split apart, it feels like a picture of gathering before something big. And it's no accident that these kinds of signs keep showing up more and more across different continents. Those three bright points didn't crash to the ground, but the way they disappeared makes people think of some unseen command just given. If that's a reminder coming from above, then Montreal is just one of many stages being picked. What are those Italian mountains hiding? And where are those lights waiting for the next signal to come back? 10. Beach encounter. A huge object was hovering right above the water, blocking out the whole sky over a beach on the American coast, just hanging there like it was watching. That short clip left people stunned, and you could almost feel the sea breeze slow down with that dark shadow right overhead. No engine noise, no propellers, just a massive structure standing out against the pale gray sky. Reports spreading on TikTok and Fox News say the thing appeared very low, way bigger than any regular helicopter, several times larger. The bands of light on its surface were neatly arranged, pulsing smoothly, like some kind of system in operation. It drifted slowly along the shoreline, no shaking, no wobbling. Then the video cut off suddenly, before anyone could figure out what was happening. Some witnesses swear they saw the water below swirl gently, as if an invisible force was pulling at the ocean. The Enigma database has recorded tens of thousands of similar sightings along coastlines, so this isn't just one isolated story anymore. The sea is already deep and mysterious. Now it becomes the backdrop for something beyond imagination. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven." When a huge structure hangs over the sea, those words, great signs, stop being just a figure of speech. They turn into something real and right in front of you, right there amid the sound of waves and the confused looks on people's faces that day. A lot of folks say it was probably just a military test plane or some light effect, but the size was enormous, the movement way too slow, and the light patterns too perfectly synced for that explanation to hold up. Compared to earlier sightings at Laguna Beach, this one was much clearer and much closer to the water, almost like it wanted to be seen. Isaiah 13:10 says, "The stars of heaven and their constellations will not give their light. The sun will be dark at its rising, and the moon will not shed its light." When the sky over the beach gets covered by a giant dark mass, that warning rings out like a bell, reminding us the normal order of things can be turned upside down any moment. In the Bible, the sea is often tied to turmoil and upheaval, and seeing something hovering above the water makes people think of the end times that were foretold. If the ocean is hiding more secrets than we ever realized, this moment might be a call to turn back to faith before everything gets out of hand. That beach will fill up with people again someday. The waves will keep rolling in like always, but the memory of that giant shadow won't fade easily. Was it just a passing oddity, or the final signal before the warnings turn into reality? Even in that unease, there's still hope. When the signs appear, people still have the chance to choose faith, and get ready for what's coming. Here are 10 phenomena that have passed right before our eyes, like 10 bells ringing one after another across an unsettled sky. From Guatemala to Alaska, the Nevada desert to the Grand Canyon, from the Hudson River to Montreal, and beaches along the American coast, each sighting doesn't stand alone. They connect into a thick chain of signs: lights hovering, formations gathering, sudden acceleration, quick retreats that stay hidden, appearances over the ocean and right in crowded cities. All of it paints one bigger picture of a very special moment in history. When we place these events side by side with Bible verses, we can't ignore how closely they match, and the match is getting clearer. Luke 21:28 says, "When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." If signs in the sky are truly increasing in 2026, the call isn't to panic, it's to wake up. This isn't just a story about UFOs. It's a story about the moment people have to face the biggest question: where do I stand in God's plan? The pictures and videos we've captured can scare a lot of folks, but the Bible always walks hand in hand with both warning and hope. When the sky shakes with strange things, that's exactly when the promise of redemption rings out louder than ever. If this really is the closing phase of an era, then repentance isn't some distant idea anymore. It's an urgent step to take right now. Even in the middle of all this confusion, there's still a clear path forward. Watch the sky with clear, steady eyes, but also look inside your own heart. Take time to pray, ask for forgiveness, and get your spirit ready for whatever might come. When these signs show up, they're not just something to talk about, they're an invitation to change. If what you've just seen and heard has you thinking, leave a prayer in the comments or share what it's stirring in you. Faith grows when we speak it out together. And if you feel these messages need to reach more people, please give a like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any important reminders in this special time. Thank you for staying with me to the end. May the Lord keep you and your family safe and steady through every shakeup. No matter how many more signs appear in the sky, hope is still there for anyone who lifts their head and trusts. Amen.
Plague of locusts in Madagascar. Half of the money is...
Check this out, during a rainstorm here. What the fuck is that?
What is the sky trying to warn us about? In just a short time, Texas suddenly lit up with purple light in the middle of the night. Giant clouds piled up like a wall about to crash down. A bright beam shot straight up as if tearing the sky open, and a long streak of clouds sliced across the heavens like a crack right in front of thousands of people. In other places, swirling clouds gripped strange light. Locusts swarmed over fields. An eclipse darkened the middle of the day. Columns of insects stood straight up on the river surface. A loud boom echoed down from above, and a glowing object hung in the air before disappearing over Medina. Do you think all this is just coincidence? Or is it a chain of signs, one after another? If what's happening isn't simply natural events, then what's coming closer? Before we dive into each event, please leave a prayer in the comments, a simple word to God saying you still trust in Him. Amen. Now, so you don't have to wait long, let's jump right in with 1. Strange purple light covers the Texas sky. The Texas sky just did something nobody was ready to see. In the middle of the night, a purple glow suddenly burst out, covering Dallas and nearby areas. It painted the whole horizon in a color so strange it was hard to believe. We just stood there stunned, watching it spread mile after mile. No thunder, no weather warnings, no storm on the radar before it, just this purple shade pouring down like someone flipped a switch way up high. The purple didn't fade. It got deeper. It reflected off rooftops, streets, and windows. A lot of folks opened their doors, stepped out, then hurried back inside with their hearts pounding from how weird it felt. Some people filmed it from their balconies, others went live, and in just a few minutes, all kinds of different angles showed the same thing stretching over more than 10 miles. Dallas is used to stadium lights mixing with low clouds, but this time there was no game, no spotlights shooting up. Joel 2:30 says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." When that verse popped up again on a lot of believers' screens, some of them said they weren't surprised at all. Others got scared, thinking it was a bad sign, something out of control. The skeptics broke down every frame, saying it was just LED lights from SMU's stadium bouncing off thick clouds or some rare atmospheric effect. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." That Bible verse doesn't give a final answer, but it clearly hints that the sky can sometimes send a signal. And when that purple light covered Texas, you could see the split right away. Scared people shut their doors and prayed. Worried folks called family. Doubters checked weather data, while believers stayed calm, like they'd read about this before. So far, no official explanation has calmed everyone down. Videos from different angles prove it really happened. No editing, and the purple lasted long enough for thousands to see it. If this was just a rare natural thing, why did it show up so suddenly and spread so far? And if it wasn't random, what bigger thing might this purple light be the start of? Texas might just be the first stop in a chain of events we haven't fully pictured yet. 2. Layers of dark gray clouds stacked up in a strange way. Dropping down from the horizon, a solid wall of gray clouds suddenly stood straight up, piling layer on layer like a tsunami hanging frozen in the sky. Folks along the coast and even inland looked up and just froze when that huge cloud mass stretched out for miles, towering thousands of feet high, blocking out daylight in just a moment. The whole thing appeared so fast, so massive, it felt like the sky changed shape right in front of our eyes. The cloud layers were rolled up tight, with edges curving down like a wave about to crash on the shore. But instead of rushing forward, they just hung there, heavy and waiting. Wind howled through the trees, the ground went dark, and a lot of people said it felt like standing under a giant, upside-down ocean. You can picture that feeling when the whole horizon turns into a thick gray wall, quiet in a way that's not normal. Joel 2:2 says, "A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness." End quote. Those short words started popping up again among all the pictures and videos spreading online, as clip after clip from different angles showed the exact same scene. Experts call it an Arcus roll cloud, formed by cold air rushing in, but this one was way bigger than anything seen before in the Gulf of Mexico, and the cloud shape held steady for a long time, which left people wondering. Zephaniah 1:15 says, "That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of ruin and destruction, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness." Once that Bible verse got shared, reactions split in every direction. Some folks panicked and started packing things up. Others stood outside filming with worry. Some studied satellite data looking for answers, while believers looked up at the sky with a strange calm, like they'd been waiting for this moment a long time. Satellite pictures confirmed the clouds stretched on and moved slowly, with a sharp edge you don't see often. Some meteorologists said a sudden big temperature drop created perfect conditions for this shape to form, but the way it stayed looking like a frozen wave up in the sky is still up for debate. That cloud wall felt both natural and somehow made people think of something much bigger. If this is just a rare weather event, why does it line up so perfectly with those ancient warnings? And if it's a sign, what exactly is that cloud wall telling us is coming closer? When the sky starts building giant boundaries like this, we might be standing at the beginning of a real wave, one that hasn't shown up in anyone's lifetime in this generation. 3. Mysterious beam of light above the building. That light appeared near a tall building, rising up from the ground like something invisible had turned it on. People a few miles away could still see it clearly, the beam cutting right through the clouds, connecting the ground to the sun in an almost perfectly straight line. A lot of folks said it felt strange to stare at it for long, like a gentle pull was drawing their eyes and their mind right to the glowing center. Some people quickly said it was just a sun pillar, that thing where sunlight reflects off ice crystals in cold air. But it wasn't cold enough that night, and the light kept its shape way too long. It didn't flicker or break apart like normal pillars do in really cold places. Videos from different angles all showed the same steady beam, not a drone, not a laser, and no visible light source coming from the ground. Acts 2:19 says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens above, and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." That purple beam rising right in the middle of a modern city made a lot of people think back to those old words. When a straight shaft of light links earth to sky in broad daylight, the word column stops being just a figure of speech. You can actually see it with your own eyes. When the light reached the sun, a strange illusion formed around the spot where they met, like a big expanding halo, and plenty of people started calling it a heavenly gate. The whole scene felt part sci-fi, part something heavy and hard to explain. A bunch of people just stood there quietly, phones in hand, but couldn't even find words to say. Revelation 11:19 says, "Then God's temple in heaven was opened, and within his temple was seen the ark of his covenant. And there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, an earthquake, and a severe hailstorm." When folks brought up that verse, many believers felt whatever was happening up there wasn't just light bending. It was a sign of something opening beyond the physical world. Image analysts ruled out digital fakes because the real-time data and reflections on nearby glass buildings all matched up perfectly. Some experts still stick to the weather explanation, but the questions keep hanging around. Why was that beam so perfectly straight? And why did it feel like a boundary line between two different spaces? If it was just an optical thing, it sure did its job. It made an entire city look up at the same moment. But if it was a door, then what's standing on the other side, waiting for the right time to step through? 4. Texas sky split. The sky over Austin, Texas, got torn open right in the middle of the day. A long black gap appeared, like a huge knife had sliced right through it. The clouds above split apart so clean and sharp it gave you chills, showing a deep, dark void underneath. It wasn't lightning, it wasn't a storm, just a straight crack hanging there above the city. The gap was a few feet wide. It stretched across the cloud layer for miles, splitting the sky into two separate pieces like broken glass. The light around it got swallowed up, making an unnatural dark patch. The contrast was so strong, a lot of folks said it looked like a glitch in the Matrix. Central Texas has seen weird cloud splits from fast weather changes before, but this cut was too straight, too neat, like it was done on purpose. Revelation 6:14 says, "And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places." When you see the sky split in two, and the cloud edges roll back on both sides, those words don't feel so far away anymore. That rolled together picture almost jumps out at you, right there in the middle of what seemed like a normal afternoon in Austin. The most common explanation is that it's a cloud getting torn by a plane flying through, something like hole punch clouds. But the videos spreading around on Reddit show no jet noise at the moment the gap appeared. No contrail, no sign of swirling air. The crack stayed in shape way too long. It didn't close up fast like normal cloud holes do. Isaiah 34:4 says, "And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their host shall fall down,